Wyatt Puhuitep, Sonny Prairie Chicken and Squawkst, Waacha a Elkstwin, Na to Kamloops to Secwepemc, language educator. And we're here with Dolly Thomas, and we're going to be talking about the Pinto Pony song and the deer song. All right. White Dolly, can you tell me where you learned the Pinto Pony song?
The Pinto Pony song came from Uncle Nels Mitchell and Millie Gottfredson. We performed it with the Paul Creek tribal dancers. And Pinto Pony dance is about a Pinto Pony that's mixed up with a whole herd of horses. And they're coming down from the mountain, and for some reason this beautiful little Pinto Pony stands out to the people. And as they're coming down, he's prancing, he's showing off his beautiful markings, and that's making the people really zoom in on him. And my uncle says it's like when young people change in their lifestyle as they grow older, the different stages that they go through in their life. We train the young people to be young gentlemen, young ladies through different ceremonies and ways. And it's kind of like the horse. He comes down and he's dancing. And then as the song goes on, because Uncle starts out, he's a young colt, so he's kind of prancy. And then he kind of gets older, and he's swishing his tail, and he's making his gianter strides, and he starts talking. And all these motions are telling the people, I'm ready. I'm going to be special to someone. And he picks a person, whether it's a young boy or young girl, going to be responsible for him. And then he really starts dancing around, showing, and it's the dance is done both by the girls and the boys, because they have mares and colts. So they when it's done in a group like that, it's really beautiful. I find it really beautiful. It's like they, in total expression of their inner self, where they've never been hurt or they've never been exposed to anything negative in their life. So, their ears are up, their tails are swishing, their body is just in sync with their how they're walking, when they prance, they're kind of like dancing. So, yeah.
So, how was the song used historically?
In some ways, it was taught during like the different ceremonies I spoke about. They would take the young boys out when it was time to go branding or check on how many herd of wild horses the tribe had. They would go out together and round up the wild horses, check on them, show the young people, you know, what to look out for, how their hoofs were, check their teeth, check their ears, and then check their coat. That way they were able to tell if any of the horses had any kind of disease on them, and they would, you know, single out that horse and corral it for a while until it got better, and explain, you know, appoint one or two young people, and this is where the girls came in, because they always did it in two, so it was a boy and a girl that would care for the horse until it got better. And we were always taught to, when you're going to go on a journey with the horse, you go and you talk to the horse in its ear. You introduce yourself. So the first time we did this was with my dad. He had logging camp, and they had you know, horses. And I used to always like this one big old horse, because he worked so hard. And I used to call that horse Papa. And I'd always go to that horse, and my dad would watch me, and I'd pull that horse down, and I'd go like that in the horse's ear, and I'd whisper, "My name is Dolly." And the horse, you know, he'd kind of go like that, right? And then I tell him again, "My name is Dolly. Who are you, Papa?" And he'd stomp on the ground there, and I'd say, "Oh, I love you, Papa." And then I'd be able to get on him, and he'd never hurt me. And that's how we're taught, like as young people, right? That's how my dad and my Uncle Mitch, how they taught us to be, not just with horses, but all animals. And for us people, horses are really sacred. They're very gifted, they're very talented, and they're like very sensitive. Lots of times you have, they tell you have horses that might be mean or aggressive. They're not being mean or aggressive. It's just that nobody talked to them. They just got on them, and you know, maybe they weren't broke, and they were broke in a mean way. So they kind of carry that hurt in them until somebody comes along and shows them the right way, how to approach them, how to talk to them, so that they can be united as one together, to work together.
Stretch 'em. So, tell me where you learned the deer song.
The deer song?
Yeah.
The deer song was sung by Uncle Mitch, and the deer song is done when the young men are being brought together to start their first hunting journey. And Uncle Mitch and the older gentlemen, they would bring all the young boys and they would sit around. They'd go in the sweat lodge first, and that's to clean them off and prepare them. A lot of them are like for their first kill. So they do all these preparations with them, and then they go up and they teach the young boys to put their offering down, say their prayers to the animal that they might be able to get for the first time. And then they're taught how to prepare that deer. The heart and the liver are always given to an elder in the community. And then their deer, the meat of the deer is cut up, wrapped, and given to all the elders first in the community or in the family that they know. They might not have a hunter in their family. And then all the parts of the deer at one time was used for everything. I could remember one time my Granny Lucy, she had one part of, and I'm pretty sure it was the back hind leg of the deer, and she used it for scraping the hides. And they made sinew for sewing. They used every part of the animal, and they would sing. Uncle Mitch would sing the song, teach the boys the song, and then Millie would do the same with the girls, because it's both a girls and a boys dance. And the girls would learn how to use the sinew to make arts and crafts out of the hide, use it for a drum, use it for a drumstick. They'd make vests, jackets, spachas, gloves, hats, and when you're dancing, we were told that, while we're dancing, we're saying thank you, giving blessings for that offering, giving blessings to our walk of life to prepare us, thanking the deer to teach us many things on our walk of life, and to give thanks to the elders that are preparing and showing us this way of life. So when we take from the animal world, we give back to the animal world in all of our ways of life.
So the young people learning these two songs, do you have a message for them?
It's very special, and I'd really like to see the elders come back and be as a group to work together again. Like, it was a really beautiful experience, learning experience, especially when I seen my Granny Lucy, and she's, because I used to help her lots as a child before I went to the residential school, and she used to, take her long hours, and she'd be scraping that hide, but she'd always talk, and she'd say, you always got to have good thoughts and feelings. So when you're scraping, it's not hard work, it becomes easy. But you can't be too easy, because if you take the easy way out of life, then you start to make mistakes. You forget the old ways. So those kinds of things, I think, are really important to ground our youth, to give them stability in their lives, and to really bless them, to be able to maybe they're struggling with something, a choice
Mm-hmm.
that they might be making in their life. So as they're working, the elders always say, if you're sewing and you made a little bit of a mistake, you don't go back and you correct that mistake. You keep going. And as you go along, and then you look at your finished product and the person that you might gift that to, you tell them, oh, one time in my life I was in this place,
Mm-hmm.
but I found a new road.
Mm-hmm.
And those things we don't necessarily intertwine when we go out hunting or fishing
Mm-hmm.
or berry picking. All those old ways of life, because we always talk to the animals, we always bless the animals, and we always gave thanks to the animals for feeding, clothing, and sheltering us. And I know that's, for me as a person, that's really important. When I pray, when I talk to my children, we go out onto the land and I show them what little I know. I always express to them, the first thing you do is you put your tobacco down, you go and you find a spot where you can just talk to the forest or to the water, wherever you may be, and be quiet and look around. And you'll always have an animal come and witness what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
And they're there to help guide and bless you,
Mm-hmm.
to give honor to you for coming and honoring them.
Mm-hmm.
And for the young people, we need to show them it's a real part of our life,
Mm-hmm.
and it's a good part of our life.
Mm-hmm.
When we keep, it's part of our history being reborn, rebrought, because so many of it was lost in through the residential school era, and now we're coming back. So if we grasp and really work together as a community, you take away all the anger and all the jealousy and the greed, to really teach and be part of the teaching, to be kind and gentle with the use of your words with the children. I think it goes a long way in them wanting to do more of that. It doesn't become work to them, or it doesn't come like you have to go, because they're too much in playing with the games and stuff like that. They're not really, we're forgetting about the land. And even as elders, a lot of us are losing that way because we're getting older and it's getting harder. Our mobility, sometimes our memory isn't as good. So we got to make use of the ones that can do it and are willing to do it.
Cook Secwepemc Dolly. Mawig Dolmen.